Entitled manager refuses to let me use the bathroom because I'm trans. I, 19M, am a transgender male. I have been out as trans since before I started working at my current job, and everybody respects my name, pronouns, and haven't made any hateful comments towards me for being trans. We recently got a new manager, Karen, 27F, who transferred from a different location of our restaurant. I've been a host, food runner, and server for this job for almost 2 years, and Karen transferred here about a month or two ago. On Monday, I was the only host during morning shift. We were slow for a while, so I told Karen I was going to the restroom. It comes to nobody's surprise that I use the men's room because I've been using it since I started working here. After I left the bathroom, Karen asks me why I was using the men's room. Note, Karen knows that I am transgender. I tell her that I was just going to the bathroom like everybody else does when they use the bathroom. I thought that she would say okay and let that be the end of it, but I was wrong. Instead, she brought some of my coworkers into the conversation and asked them if they had an issue with me using the men's room. All of them said no because they know that I'm going in there to do one thing: go to the bathroom. She didn't like that answer and started to make some homophobic and transphobic comments about it. How do you think the guests would feel if they knew they were using the same bathroom as a he/she? I'm just asking you a question. Don't be such a girl about it. I mean, why can't you just make everyone's life easier and use the women's restroom? It's not like you have the proper parts to use the men's room anyway. At that point, I was fed up. I told her that if anybody had that big of an issue with me using the bathroom, they could talk to me about it. The women that I work with don't feel comfortable with me using the women's room anyway, because they all know that I am a man. She laughed at me and said that until I get my surgeries done, I would never be a real man. I told her that what bathroom I use doesn't affect how I do my job. I've been at this location for more than 4 times as long as she has, and nobody, except for 2 instances with guests over the past 2 years, have had a problem with it. If it was really that big of a deal, she could talk to Jason, our managing partner and owner of the building, about her concerns. He knows me and has made it a point for me to feel comfortable in my work environment. I said that I was done with this conversation and that it was very inappropriate for her to be talking to one of her employees about what's in their pants. I brought this conversation up to Jason tonight and he was disgusted. He asked me to file a report and that he would have a conversation with Karen later on this week about what happened. I will keep you guys posted on everything coming up, but I am absolutely disgusted with what happened. Thank y'all for letting me vent. Story 2. How I got a store manager fired for selling my property to a Karen mom. I'm 26M and am both autistic and have severe PTSD from some childhood trauma caused by both of my parents that I really don't want to get into. I'm on a few different medications for depression and migraines and have to live in Section 8 housing that I just moved into a few months ago after being on the waiting list for years. I don't like being touched or loud noises, and I certainly don't like seeing anyone take my stuff. When I moved to this city for the Section 8 housing, I'd been gifted a brand new Razor Kick scooter by a friend to get around my new area with. And I love it. It's black and made a bit sturdier than typical ones for an adult to ride and has bigger wheels. It also isn't sold in the local stores, but they have similar-looking ones in the bike department. And obviously, I don't just leave it outside when I go into a store. I fold it up and put it in my cart while shopping. I look kinda twitchy, so most people leave me alone, and I'm just fine with that. But touch me without consent or take my stuff and be ready for a massive freakout. I went down the canned food aisle and started browsing the chunky soup. When I picked what I'd wanted and put the cans in the cart, I noticed my scooter was gone, and there was a woman with a kid fast walking away while carrying it. I shouted after them to return my scooter, but they ignored me, so I abandoned my cart to give chase. When I caught up to the lady and the kid, I tried to take my scooter back and the kid screamed so loud my eardrums felt like they were gonna pop. And the Karen mom shoved down while yelling something I didn't hear because my ears were ringing and my brain just stopped working for a moment. A manager noticed the commotion and came to see what the trouble was. I didn't even get a chance to speak when the Karen mom started calling me a creep and was demanding I be thrown out. I kept trying to explain what really happened, but the Karen just kept yelling over me. We were separated and I was made to sit in an office. The manager approached me and I asked him where my scooter was, and he admonished me and said it was sold to the Karen and I shouldn't have tried to take it from the kid when they were just trying to buy it from the store. Then he pointed out he had to give the Karen a discount just because of the situation. I understandably freaked out and told him that the Karen had taken my scooter that I came into the store with, and it wasn't sold there. The manager just looked confused and I nearly broke down. Then I pulled my phone out and showed him a picture a friend had taken of me with the scooter right after I'd gotten it. The next thing I knew, he was running out of the room. And when he finally came back, he said that the Karen was long gone. I pulled out my phone back out and started frantically calling the police. The manager actually tried to stop me by putting his hand over my phone, and I freaked out from him touching me. He backed off because I'd nearly kicked him and was panicking and saying he'd buy me another scooter from the store. I told him that my scooter was expensive and didn't come from their store, and I wanted mine back. Well, it turned out I had managed to dial 911 because the police were already listening in on the line and the operator was trying to get my attention. I just told them to send someone over because my property had been stolen. I had to wait for another hour at least while police showed up and then went through the CCTV footage. It clearly showed me entering the store with the scooter and showed the Karen and her crotch goblin taking it from my cart. And the mess that followed when I tried to get it back. I wanted my scooter back, and police had to find the Karen from the camera footage of the parking lot. They found her address by running her plate number they got from the camera footage, and I got to ride in the back of a police car while we went to her apartment. The officer knocked on her door, and I didn't hear the situation because I was still sitting in the back of the car with the windows closed. But the Karen mom looked really angry and eventually brought out the scooter after some back and forth. She practically had to wring it out of her kid's hands. I got let out of the car and they asked me if I wanted to press charges for assault because the mother had shoved me. She looked ghost white when I said I did want that, but the Karen started crying and begging me. She said that she honestly thought it was something the store was selling and it was her kid's birthday. I yelled that didn't excuse her stealing from someone else's cart, let alone from a legally disabled man. Her kid was also loudly crying, and my ears were hurting again. So I said I wouldn't press charges on her if she didn't come near me or my stuff again. But I wanted something done about the manager at the store for letting this happen, and I was ready to ride my scooter all the way back there. But the police convinced me that it'd be better if I just went home and calmed down. I later learned on my next visit to the store a couple days later that manager was fired over what happened because he already had a few complaints against him and didn't bother to check that the scooter wasn't one of theirs. And the store gave the Karen and her kid a replacement Razor scooter that they had in stock because she'd already paid for one. But she was also banned for 6 months from the store for shoving me and stealing my property. I was also given a $1.50 gift card for some free groceries since I wasn't able to buy anything the day that mess happened. Now, every time I go into that store, a few of the employees know me by name, and one actually told a random kid to leave me alone when he asked about my scooter. I certainly keep a better eye at now, too. I've also since added a name tag on the underside of the scooter with my full name on it, just in case this happens again.